Welcome home, neighbors.
Welcome home, neighbors.
Hello, neighbors.
We're listening from
Arizona,
Florida,
Maryland, New York, New Jersey,
Indianapolis,
California,
Utah,
Michigan.
Iowa, Massachusetts,
Georgia, Canada,
Our home resort is
Animal Kingdom,
Polynesian,
Bay Lake Tower,
Old Key West,
Riviera,
Boardwalk,
Alani Resort,
Hilton Head,
Boulder Ridge, Copper Creek,
Grand Floridian,
Saratoga Springs,
Beach Club.
and Wilderness Lodge.
And you're listening to
and you're listening
You're listening
to
my
DVC Points.
Welcome home, everybody, to episode 57 of the My DVC Points Community Hall Live podcast. My name is Chad Pennycuff, and I am your host tonight. I will be facilitating this conversation with our co-host, Sandy. But before we get into that, I want to do a quick word of thank you and shout out to our sponsor for today's episode. That would be the DVC Resale Market. They are the number one leader in DVC resales. Nobody sells more contracts. Nobody has more listings. If you're looking to buy or you're looking to sell, these guys can help you find a connection with buyer and seller like nobody else can in the business. Every single person there is a former DVC Direct Guide, so you get that Disney level of service without having to pay that Disney price tag. DVC Resale Market, let them know you heard about them here on the My DVC Points podcast. So let's come back in today and welcome back to the show our regular co-host and live person, Sandy. So,
Hi,
hey, Sandy,
Chad.
how are you?
Doing great. It's like our podcast Palooza weekend. We're like throwing together amazing content. I'm so excited for everybody to hear the Animal Kingdom Lodge series that we're putting together. It's going to be lots of fun.
Yeah, we recorded. This is our third show, Sandy, this weekend. So we have recorded like 3 different shows, and we're just going because the Animal Kingdom one will drop in about December timeframe. So late November. So you guys are going to want to tune in for that. But today we are talking about Genie Plus member reviews, and we have 4 questions. We found 4 members of the My DVC Points community and asked them, hey, you guys were there for the opening week of Disney Genie. How did this rollout work for you? And did you follow Genie's advice? Did you try to go by his plan? And then what worked well for your family and what didn't work so well? We're going to do this as 4 individual little mini interviews. And then at the end, we'll bring everybody back in for a 5th question to go, would you recommend this or not? Yes or no? DVC members, family, friends, or first timers. So that being said and done, let's welcome to the show first time guest, Kevin. So how are you doing today, Kevin?
Hey, Chad, how are you?
I am doing great. So how did the rollout go for you?
Hi, how are you?
We are fine. Anybody at the Grand Floridian on a Sunday night could be no better, right?
I'm telling you.
I completely agree.
Thanks for taking time out of your still current vacation.
That's okay. I'm glad to do it. You guys have been very helpful and want to reciprocate a little bit. There at midnight, I guess backing up a little bit, on the day before, I thought possibly after the park closed that night, to avoid all the millions of people that be trying to download the app, I thought, well, they'll go ahead and push it out after the park closed, not to wait. But they didn't. I was there at about 12:15 when I was able to download it. Didn't really have much trouble downloading it.
Okay.
Kind of sluggish, but optimistic at that point because, as you know, didn't know what to expect. So downloaded fine. I was able to purchase the next day's Genie. I guess from a user-friendly standpoint, it took me a minute to determine because they really, none of us was able to play with the product before having to use it. So it was on the job training. So after I downloaded it, I was trying to figure out how to purchase it. And it took me a minute to see, okay, what was added to MDE that was the Genie product. So as most knows now, there's a tips section and there's a my plan section. So stumbling across the my tips, I was able to, when I clicked on that tab and then actually clicked on one of the Lightning Lane rides, it did directed me to purchase it.
Got it. So it was like a little upsell ad is how you got to the purchase.
That's right. It was not intuitive. I thought it probably would be the first thing on MDE.
Right. Hey, you're here. Do you want to buy?
Yeah, exactly. But it wasn't initially.
Okay.
So again, got that fine, downloaded it, went to bed. So set the alarm clock 15 to 7 to get up to the next morning in order to make the first one. So at 7:01, I tried to make the first one, and right off the bat, Genie Plus thought I was at one park instead of another park.
Oh no.
So I was trying to make Magic Kingdom, and it thought I was at Epcot. So when I clicked on the Magic Kingdom, the first ride, it wanted to assign a 2 p.m. time to that, which obviously was park hopping. Right. And I said, well, we'll just go to the other park. I didn't know what to do. Well, guess what? When I clicked on Epcot, it did the same thing. It wanted to put the first ride. So I had to quickly go downstairs. We were at the beach club at the time. Member services, they were helpful enough. They said, well, we see you have 2 reservations. And I said, I canceled one and made another one weeks ago. Right off
Not
the bat,
according to the Genie.
Genie Plus and the MDE hook seems like they have some syncability issues. So the member services canceled the Epcot one, and immediately I was able to make Magic Kingdom Lightning Lanes.
Okay.
Jumping to the end of the story, I've had to do that 3 different days on my trip. Evidently, sometime before I got here, we had changed our mind what park to travel in. So when I go to the desk each morning, I tell them what to do, because at this point I know what the problem is. But after they cancel it, I was able to make them and do all this. One thing I do want to mention, I mean, and again, Disney financial math tells you that it's $15 a pop. So if you have 4 people, it's $60. Well, after me and my wife, I clicked on and bought 2. It was basically $32 almost. I think it was $31.90 something cents, because there's something called sales tax, I guess, on this service. So instead of $15, if you're planning, it's more like $16.
Right.
So, at that point in time, it seemed to be okay. I mean, it worked fine. I will say this about the first day. I would say most people did not know about Genie Plus, or it was simply not intuitive enough for people to make plans on it.
Right.
Because
to just walk into it fresh, right?
Yeah, the standby lines were awful. The lightning lanes, you know how you would have to stand in line for fast passes. We walked right to the front of the queue each time. I mean, and walking by lines and lines, and I'm thinking, these people are didn't pay the $15. They either just simply was overwhelmed with the technology, didn't understand it, or didn't know about it.
Well, did you try any of the normal Genie's advice, or did you just wing it and go by your own plan?
Well, I was basically winged it and went by my own plan. I did try to mirror touring plans with Genie.
Oh, interesting.
And touring plans still, I think, had more data. Now, I'll make a comment of this.
Touring plans is still better than Genie Plus.
So,
Genie Plus is brand new, so they might not have any data.
It's Disney's. They got all the data in the world.
So you choose, not only do you choose your rides, part of it is choose a theme. So if you like Star Wars, or if you like princesses. So the funny thing about it is I chose none initially, but then I went back to choose Star Wars just to see.
At Magic Kingdom.
And basically, it was giving me the same thing each time. I mean, even when I went to Hollywood. So one of the issues right off the bat when we park hopped, Genie Plus does not think that you're park hopping. It keeps you at your initial park as a default, even after you scan into the new park. So I think that will be fixed. But if you want to make another lightning lane at your hopped park, each time you have to change the default to, like, from Magic Kingdom to Hollywood,
Right.
in order to make it at Hollywood. It doesn't realize that you are there.
Well, when you mentioned that you had picked Star Wars, that was going to be one of my questions, because was it automatically defaulting you to park hop over to Hollywood Studios in the afternoon? Because you had said
No,
that.
you could pick Star Wars at any park. All
Okay.
the defaults were the same. There's about, I think.
So if you're in Animal Kingdom, you can say, I want Star Wars.
Right.
Good luck with that. Okay.
Right. And I don't know if it's behind the scenes, if you do hop, but it does not. And conversely, I believe it had other things that you would say, well, that has nothing to do with Epcot or Animal Kingdom, or
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
So it's kind of just defaulted in there.
Well, Ron, what worked out well for your family?
Well, I think number one, just the time management. It's going to be a necessity, and we can get into that later on in the call. The lightning lanes worked fine. One thing that I would mention is you can make your next lightning lane, we know, after you touch in to the one that you're in now. They have opened up touch points at both the beginning of the queue and also as you get on the ride. Until you touch the second touch point, you cannot make your next lightning lane.
Gotcha.
That's so lame.
So if there are people in the line.
It used to be like that with Fast Passes, though, no?
No, Fast Pass was the first one.
Well, I feel like some of them I still needed to tag in on the second one, no?
So every ride that we have done had 2 touch points, except for Safari Ride at Animal Kingdom. It only has the one initial touch point, but every ride we rode so far has had 2 different touch points.
Did you feel it was just as empty the couple of days after the first initial launch for the lines, or it got more crowded?
I think you could see the trend getting better, I guess, for people using it, because there was more people in the lightning lanes. I'm using that as the as I guess the thumbnail. But they are, we can, get in to, some of the defects later on if you want to, that we found. But
I think the big one here is if you've changed your park reservation, that it could booger up the system. Okay.
Yeah.
I that's a big pro tip to understand.
Yeah.
And the initial adopters, right?
Right. And the other thing is, just found that it definitely was out of sync on several, even dining, was out of sync. It would try to plan your day. And if you'd made changes to previous dining reservations, it did not realize that either.
Did your phone battery hold up, Ron?
It did.
Okay.
Had it on saver, but it really did. And I had touring plans. I had both of them open at one time and optimizing both of them.
Gotcha.
A lot. So.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Okay. So, well, Kevin, I want to thank you for joining us for this segment. We'll keep you around in the green room and bring you right back up here at the end for your final thoughts and recommendations. So
sounds good.
Okay. So thanks for joining us, Kevin, and let's welcome Anna to the show. Hey, Anna, how are you today?
Hi, Anna.
Good. How are you?
Hey, Anna, we've got our 4 questions here for Disney Genie, and how was the rollout for you?
All right. So when it came out on the 19th, I was actually at Universal for that day. I was checking in that night.
Okay.
But it was, it downloaded fine and everything worked great. And I kind of that day just was paying attention to when the lightning lanes were being used up and different stuff, so that the next day when I was actually going to use it, I knew kind of where everything stood. we're kind of late entry to the park people. We don't get up and rope drop.
Oh, you and me both. This
I
whole
have
system
teenagers.
is just designed for rope droppers, and I
Yeah.
love the parks at night. I don't like the rope drop.
I don't either. We love the parks at night. We prefer to go in like 11, 12, 1 and stay super late. So this was my middle daughter's birthday trip. So it was just 3 of us instead of all 5 of us. So I thought it was a perfect time to try it out. So every day we really, well, 2 of the 3 days, we didn't even buy the Genie until noon.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, because we weren't quite sure exactly what we wanted to do for 2 of the days, but
so what was the motivation for purchasing it at noon? Were you finding that the crowds were starting to build up, or?
It was just the time we were getting into the park, and also some of the first day was Animal Kingdom that we used it. You don't really need it there, which I know we'll get into at the end, but
Epcot and Animal Kingdom are like, why? Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting too when Everest goes down in January, right? For a couple months.
Right. Yeah. But but that one, we didn't wait more than 10 to 12 minutes the entire 3 days because we rode it a couple times. So you don't need to purchase that one. But the nice thing is we only did 3 rides. And the reason we didn't purchase it until noon is because when you get a lightning lane, it assigns you your time. You don't get to pick your time. So, if you're not getting into a park until noon,
why buy it and then come back in and it say, hey, you can have one at 9 a.m. Well, right. I ain't rolling in until noon, so I don't need it then.
So I just kind of watched it and then bought it and then made our first lightning lane. I will say the one ride that it was needed for was Navi River Journey, because it was a 65-minute wait, and we walked right on because we had the lightning lane. Okay. So the lightning lane, you could basically, we bought it at 12:05 and got on Navi River Journey at, I think the next lightning lane was like 12:45. So it was a very short window between purchasing and when we actually got to ride. And I love that ride, but I'm not waiting an hour. I don't really like waiting more than 15 minutes for it. So we did that, and then we rode Everest, and then I booked a Kali River Rapids, and that, and that was really it. So we rode just 3 rides.
Okay.
And the whole time we really only booked in the lightning lanes 3 to 4 every day. That's not a lot, but when you don't start until later in the day, it becomes a little harder to book a lot of them. We did buy the an individual lightning lane for
no one can think of these crazy names they've got.
The ill.
The ill. That's what we should start calling it. The ill.
Yeah, because it makes you a little ill when you spend the extra money. But we did buy that on the 21st because it was my daughter's birthday and she really wanted to ride Rise, but we didn't want to wait in the line. So as a birthday present, we did go ahead and buy that. That was a little difficult to purchase because it's $16 a person, because that one also has tax. But it was nice to be able to schedule it, which is something that would be really great for the lightning lanes, to be able to at least pick your first time, maybe not any after that, but that would make a huge difference in planning your day, because we were able to put Rise like an hour before an Oga's reservation, which was worked out really great.
But Genie's supposed to do all this for you, right?
Right. It's supposed to know.
It doesn't.
Did you follow the Genie's advice?
No, we didn't, because since we bought it every day, I just had to sit there and watch and make sure that like it was going to work with what we needed. Rise actually Kylo Ren ended up being in B mode, and which was a little disappointing, because we've ridden it like 5 times. We know what the ride is supposed to look like.
Got it.
And so, we've just paid basically $48
for B mode.
Yeah, for B mode. And, the other people in the ride at the same time, they didn't realize it was in B mode because they had never ridden it, but we knew it was in B mode. And I definitely will say, with the Genie up and running, the cast members, we've been, I think about like 6 or 7 times since COVID started. And the throughput of the rides is pre-COVID again. Like they are just running people through all the rides, which is a good thing because it keeps the standby lines down. But the other thing we found is that you would look at the lightning lane time on the tip board, and then you'd book a time, and it would actually give you a different time. So at one point we thought we were booking a 7 o'clock for Toy Story Mania, and it ended up being 7:40 or 7:20. No, it was 7:40, and I forgot because I thought it was 7, and so we showed up early because it gave us an actual different time. And that happened a couple of different times where I would book something thinking it was one time, and it would either be like an hour earlier, an hour later, 3 hours later. So that was a little frustrating. Yeah.
Got it. So it sounds like the timing of it, when you're a power user like we are, we know what our plans are. We know how our touring plan likes to go. And Genie's just seems like it's ramrodding its methodology down your throat. And whatever freedoms that you thought you had before to pick a fast pass, you're just kind of at the mercy of this whatever. So
and Slinky Dog goes really fast in the morning. I mean, at 7:05, it was already to like 4 o'clock is the first time you could get, and we ended up canceling our at like 9:30 in the morning, canceling our Slinky Dog that was at 4 because the rides my daughter really wanted to get on were starting to go later into the day, and we needed them earlier in the day so we could skip to Magic Kingdom for a dinner reservation. And then the last day we ended up doing the stacking where it like every 2 hours you put one later in the day, and that actually worked really well, especially for those of us that sleep in and don't go into the parks until later. You could book.
Except for the fact that you're not sleeping in, you're up stacking, setting an alarm every 2 hours to get back up and retouch the app.
Well, you do it at 7, and then for like Hollywood Studios, you can't do it again until 11 because it's 2 hours after the park opens. So you can do it at 7, 11, 1, and then
which
3.
Is just wrong in my opinion. They ought to start saying, "Hey, your 2 hours is your 2 hours."
Yeah.
Because you're on site, you get an extra start on this, so maybe you might get an extra lightning lane here.
Yeah, and that would be really nice because then we could stack 4 rides for later in the day, and actually be able to really get the most out of the Genie. Because right now, we were, those of us that are late risers don't really get the full benefit anywhere other than, to us anyway, Hollywood Studios.
Got it.
Because we get the extra hours at Epcot and Magic Kingdom now on Mondays and Wednesdays.
Yeah. So it sounds like, just to summarize this up and wrap this up, it worked out well when you were able to stack, but it was very cumbersome to work around your existing dining plans and hopping plans and everything else that you've traditionally done as a regular Disney park guest. When you've had your pro plans, this thing just doesn't quite merge. So
I mean, we got color-coded spreadsheets and like all of it, and it's
people don't do that.
Yeah. Rip the spreadsheets. Okay. Yeah, and I'm with Grant here with this comment, and he goes, going to Walt Disney World is becoming more and more complex, and this was supposed to solve that problem. Tons of research needed ahead of time rather than going in and enjoying the moment and smelling the roses.
Yeah, I mean, you're just sitting there watching your phone going, is this it? Do I book the lightning lane now? Is this the time that I need it for later in my day to work into what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish? I mean, it's for rope droppers to fireworks, this is probably good, but
probably a good thing if anybody's your rope dropping. So well, thanks so much for joining us, Anna. We'll bring you back in for our group consensus conversation. And let's welcome Jill to the show. Hey Jill, how are you?
Hi, good evening. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks. So give us a little bit of a background on your lightning lane experience and how the rollout worked for you, Jill.
Sure. So I used it yesterday and today, so Saturday and Sunday, which I think gives us a good sense of what's going on a weekend.
Yes.
I'll start by saying I'm a pretty tech savvy person. I can do a lot of things with tech, and I get approached by friends and family to help them with their tech. So I was like, I got this. That was definitely hubris. And so I'll start by also saying I have an Android phone. My phone is a Samsung Galaxy. And I believe that this is well optimized for iPhone users over Android users.
Okay.
So I had been fiddling around in the app for the previous 3 days leading up to my trip. So I was like ready to do it. And when I landed, there was an update that was pushed, and the button to buy Genie Plus disappeared from my phone. I literally couldn't buy it. Like, it was just a purple block and saying purchase. So I was going, oh my gosh, well, how do I do this now? So I logged into my Disney experience using a computer. You cannot buy it through the desktop or the website. And so I actually had to boot up an iPad, download the app, and I could buy it on iOS, but I couldn't buy it on my Android. So if I didn't have an iPad, there's no way I would have actually been able to physically buy it without going to guest services. So that was weird. But then I was able to start making selections. I did decide to rope drop, and I made a couple of strategic decisions. So I picked Slinky first. It wasn't until 11:05, which meant I was waiting that 2-hour period. And so I decided then to rope drop Mickey and Minnie Runaway Railway, knowing that it was an individual attraction selection, extra costs. I didn't want to pay that. So I just beelined straight for Mickey and Minnie, and I was off by 8:40 a.m.
Amazing.
So that's a strategy tip, I think, for sure. And then I also want to just let folks know that single rider lines are still available. And so if you're a small party like me, I use single rider at Test Track, at Rock and Roller Coaster, Smuggler's Run. All of those are lightning lane selections that I would just skip making altogether in favor of using single rider line if you have a party of adults or older kids who are okay sitting next to someone they don't know. And then you can save your lightning lane selections for attractions that are more likely to sell out, like Slinky.
That's a fantastic tip.
Yeah. So did you follow any of Genie's advice, or was it like, hubris of I'm a My DVC Points community member. I listen to the shows. I own
I've got
some
my
points.
spreadsheets. Yeah.
I got this, right?
Well, so Genie kept recommending things that I know that I don't want to do, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners here don't want to do either. It was like, make sure you go to Hall of Presidents. It's still open. Hall of Presidents? Anyone?
Lots of Muppets.
Or like the Pixar Short Film Festival. I mean, those are cute things to do, but those were the things with the shortest wait times. And even when you hit the swap button to get a different recommendation, it would be like Living with the Land has only a 5-minute wait. Or Figment. And again, those are things that I'm not going to use my lightning lane for because the standby time was so short. So
who wants the cooldown timer? Like, yeah.
What's that?
I don't want the cooldown timer that goes along with lightning lane Figment,
Right. Like I'm going to wait the 5 minutes. I'm good. If I
exactly.
Attraction. But I did find that if I just kept refreshing, sometimes the times would change and you'd get them earlier or later. That was really fascinating. But I did have one moment where I'm going to just call it panic clicking. I was trying to move through so fast to get a Soarin' lightning lane, and I ended up accidentally clicking through Spaceship Earth because alphabetized, they're right next to each other. So I ended up with a Spaceship Earth lightning lane, and through the Android couldn't cancel it. There was no button to cancel it, just kept looping me back. So I went to guest services. One thing that worked really well for me too was being super, super nice to all of the cast members because they got a lot of people them right now. Oh, goodness. But so nice. I took screenshots of everything. So if you have an error, take screenshots. They'll actually submit a ticket to Disney IT. But it's been so tough that Disney IT was at guest services, actually talking to guests. So I talked to an IT person, and they were very, very sad for me. And I actually got a little bit of pixie dust from that. Not only did I get my Genie Plus refunded for the day, but I also got a bonus anytime use Rise of the Resistance Lightning Lane Pass. So
amazing.
I felt like I was taken care of.
That's great. So what worked best for you when you were there?
It was as good, I think, of it as it could have been for being in day 5. You know, this ultimately just feels like a giant beta test for everybody. And, you know, all of our Clark knowledge is definitely going to exceed the AI at this point because, as Kevin said,
I
the
mean,
AI it's telling you weird things.
Yeah. When you're a true blue hardcore fan, like our whole audience is, okay? It's just not, the AI is just not there. Yeah, I think that's a really good observation, Jill. So, okay.
Yeah,
Any
the other
other
thing
final
also-
thoughts on Disney Genie Plus here? Or?
Yeah, the last thing I'll say is that if you want to change a lightning lane selection, you're supposed to be able to cancel it and just like book a new thing. I really, really wish that they would introduce a swap feature instead of a cancel and rebook, because what happens is you have to cancel your existing reservation in order to book the one that's popped up that you really want. And in the 1 minute or 30 seconds that takes, somebody else may have taken that new reservation. So then you've lost not only your existing one, but you also didn't get your new one. So kind of like park reservations had been going for the last year until they pushed this update where you can swap them. I really wish they would introduce a swap feature. But again, my big feedback was Android users are not getting the love.
Yeah, no love for Android. So, man, that's sad. That's sad. So,
and stressful.
Yeah. I mean, I thank goodness I'm an iPhone user, but man, I really feel for the people who aren't. But anyways, thanks so much, Jill. We will drop you down into the green room and we'll bring you right back in after we talk with Scott. So thanks for sharing with us. Hey, Scott, how was your Genie Plus experience? And welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for having me. Less than magical.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. What happened with your rollout, Scott?
So where do we want to start? You want to start at 7 a.m. yesterday morning?
Go for it.
I feel like we just put this out there to like book people ahead of time. We didn't like go back in and just pick like cherry pick the bad stories.
This came up, I believe, last Saturday or Sunday, days before this actually came out.
Yeah. Before it even dropped, we recruited for this show.
Yeah. So at 7 o'clock, so I live in Tampa. We're an hour-ish from property. We were in the car yesterday morning. My wife at 7 o'clock went on to buy just Disney Plus and get our first lightning lane. We are linked with 2 other people, Dave Youngward and his wife, on our MDE. We're supposed to be able to do this all together, right? Theoretically. So, of course, they don't show up on ours. We don't show up on theirs.
Oh, no.
We were on the phone with them at the same time trying to book a Millennium Falcon Lightning Lane. They got 9:15. We got 11:45.
Oh, boy.
On the phone at the same time together. 2.5 hours apart.
Because you guys, somehow your parties aren't linked, right? You're like, it's like you're not MDE friends, but you are.
But
right?
they have been linked for 2 years, a year and a half.
Here's a question. Were your reservations linked as a travel with, or was it just your friends and family that you were linked through?
So we're AP, and we have been able to do this for fast passes in the past. But this doesn't happen. So, okay, fine. We go to one of the blue umbrellas when we get into Hollywood Studios and go, look, here's the deal. This happened. You can see we're linked. We couldn't get this at the same time.
Right.
The cast member goes, okay, I can fix that.
Oh, good.
And I'll make sure you guys are linked.
Oh,
okay.
Well, that's good.
Okay.
Sounds
so
good.
We go to the next ride.
Promising. Sounds promising.
We go to the next ride. We go to Millennium Falcon. We all tap in. Veronica taps to make a fast pass for our next ride, or a lightning lane. Sorry, I'm old school.
We're gonna be saying fast pass
forever,
but
right. So we're at MGM Studios and we're trying to make a fast pass, right? And I don't show up still under Veronica's, so she can make a fast lightning lane for all 4 of us. So that went on all day. We finally got that figured out. But yeah, it started off way less than magical. Anyway, a couple of notes based on like what I've heard from the previous people. So Genie actually did know that we had pre-scheduled to park hop.
Okay.
To the point that we were going to go to Epcot at 2:00, and at 2:30, while we were sitting at Baseline Tap Room, trying to see, okay, what can we do at Hollywood Studios? It kept popping up Epcot for all of us.
Interesting.
So, like,
So
how did it
that's
know
great,
you were
actually,
going
no?
to?
Well, because we had put in on Tuesday that we were going to Epcot at 2:00.
Oh,
Into the
'cause-
Genie.
So, right. So where Kevin said his didn't know he was going to park hop, by Saturday, it was almost forcing us to park hop. We had to go
because
keep
instead of the
changing it to the park.
spreadsheet, you've got to come back in and do all that data
that's
entry
it.
in there.
Right. So we had to keep changing the park back
Oh.
to Hollywood Studios to find out what we were doing. Somebody brought up about 2 touch points. Living with the Land actually had 2 touch points. And the second one was a cast member standing with an iPad,
Oh, interesting.
even to that
So
point.
you wouldn't really know that's what they're doing.
Well, I mean,
Well,
we
they have
had
to scan it, I
we
guess.
had to, we had to tap
Yeah.
to the iPad
Yeah, but you
at
wouldn't
the second
know.
point.
I mean, if you look up and you don't see it, you wouldn't know that there was a cast member with a second one.
Exactly.
Well,
Because there's no stanchion or stanchion.
right,
whatever
but he
those
was
are.
there, and
Okay.
so I was actually I got a foot injury, so I was on a scooter.
Right.
Actually, this was interesting. When I came up to Living with the Land, they waved me over to the lightning lane, and the guy says, "I don't care if you have a lightning lane or not. Go ahead and touch the thing here, or I'm going to override it." Sent us through the lightning lane, and then there was another cast member there going, "Okay, I need you to touch here." So I think this second touch thing is going to be a thing now.
Oh yeah. It's all the reports are saying it's 2 touch, and
Yeah. Sorry, and I've been writing notes as everybody else talked, so I'm kind of trying to go down my notes here real quick.
Oh yeah, fill in the gaps, right?
So when
one
it
thing-
when it started sending you over to like to Epcot that day, were you actually following the Genie's advice for some of that stuff? Or
Well,
no?
up until then, we wanted to. We
Okay.
kept looking at Disney's advice or Genie's advice. We had people with vertigo and different
Oh.
reasons that there were some things that we didn't want to ride.
Mhm.
All 4 of us are pass holders. All 4 of us are within 100 miles of Disney property. We traditionally have done things go in for 4 or 5 hours and go home. So we're used to a little bit different system than I think what this is set up for. It kept trying to send us to Muppets 3D, Beauty and the Beast, the Disney Junior
dance party.
Oh,
or
of
whatever it's
course.
called. Right. Because all of us I'm the youngest one at 50 years old, really want to do that.
Well,
but
they
every
obviously don't
time
have your
you pulled it
birthday
up,
data in there.
right. Right. Another thing about that is what they're calling the I think it's tip chart or something, whatever. The first tab when you pull it up has got all the wait times listed and when the next available lightning lane is listed, which theoretically is a great system, except it's alphabetical.
Oh,
So
not by
man.
time.
not by time. So you go through it and I can't remember now and it's not even relevant, but it's ABC.
Right.
So, it's 55 minutes, 45 minutes, 5 minutes, 65 minutes. It just wasn't user friendly.
There's no sort function yet.
Or at least it's not what we're used to
Right.
for the last decade
Mm-hmm.
almost. And come on, I mean, we're slow. We're slow adapting to new things. Disney
we knew
people-
this was going to be painful, right?
Right.
But
Disney people hate change. I mean,
Well, all
if
people
we
do,
hate
right?
anything else, we hate change. But
it's give us something new, but don't change anything. That's the conundrum of serving Disney fans. Okay.
Keep Ellen, and how dare you get rid of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
Yeah.
But another thing we noticed, this was actually weird and good at the same time. So quick service kept popping up in the list. Okay. And all the restaurants kept popping up. But all of the quick service at a particular time that I remember was about 12:37, and all of them had availability from 12:40 to 1:10.
Oh,
all
interesting.
And that has not been the case for quite a while.
Right.
At any of the parks. It's been, we've all heard the stories about you have to decide at 8:00 what quick service you want to have today. All of them had half-hour windows showing up on Genie Plus
for lunchtime.
Right then, starting right then.
Yeah, my last experience with that was, okay, you can wait
be an hour
45
wait
minutes.
once you get there.
And then you get there and it was a 2.5 hour wait. Like, no thanks. So
I will say that on October 1st, when we were there, that wasn't the case. It may have been 15 or 20 minutes once you got there and said, I'm here. But maybe they've fixed it. I don't know.
Yeah, let's hope. They've had a couple of weeks to fix that issue. And this was at Pecos Bill. And there was just hundreds of people outside waiting.
Yeah, my wife went to Pecos Bill. I went to Casey's because I'm a sucker. I wanted that 50th anniversary hot dog, which is disgusting.
Oh no.
But we actually both got, probably the whole deal took an hour.
Got it.
So I think they've fixed it some anyway. One other thing that we got I don't know if it's official or semi-official word from a cast member, but it is the same rule as fast passes. You can get in 5 minutes before your time, your hour window, and 15 minutes after your hour window.
That's great.
Which is good to know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just want to throw those things out there.
Or I'm guessing at the discretion of the cast member, because sometimes stuff happens.
They can just hit the override button.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
okay.
The person at the guest services umbrella told us run to Millennium Falcon because they are very strict about it. But when we got there, they told us 5 and 15. So I'm not sure everybody knows the rules, but that's what we were told.
Got it. That's a great tip there, Scott. And it's good to know that carried over from Fast Pass to Lightning Lane.
Yeah, because, people get hungry.
Okay.
It just happens. We tried very hard to follow the Genie advice. It just didn't work. And it was throwing out recommendations that weren't on our pre-approved list of the 8 attractions that we wanted to do that we put in. So
did you eventually get all of those 8 done or no?
No, we went to Baseline Tap Room and that kind of threw out the day. Okay. But that happens.
Yeah. That's an annual pass holder.
That was your own choice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It wasn't the Genie's fault.
We ended up there. We met some people, but no, even sitting there at the table, we were looking at, okay, what does it say we should do now? Muppets 3D, Beauty and the Beast, Disney Junior Dance Party. Again, we were all over 50. Nobody was going to the Disney Junior Dance Party. Nobody selected that. It just kept trying to get us there.
Okay. Well, dude, thanks for sharing your story. Instead of dropping you down, I'm now going to add everybody else back into this, and we're going to have our final discussion here. And so let me just add people back in. And okay, so this is the $50 million question. And Scott, you were last up, so we'll just go around the horn here clockwise. So would you recommend this to other people, to DVC members, friends, family, or first timers?
Each of those?
Yeah. Or
okay.
However you choose to answer it. What's your recommendations based on your experience?
Our consensus yesterday was that this is very good for first timers or infrequent visitors. We know that Disney and Universal have done all these studies that 4.5 experiences in a day makes guests happy. And if you follow this, you're going to do 4.5 experiences in a day. It's not going to make probably any of us here on this StreamYard show happy because it's not going to let us do the 4 we want to do. At least in my experience on Saturday at Hollywood Studios and Epcot. Rise was sold out before we could get it. Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway kept giving us a longer return time than what the standby was, even for, whatever it was, $11 or whatever. I just don't think, I don't think it was it.
So you're not recommending it to our core podcast listening?
No, not for the people here. I just don't think so right
for
now.
DVC members that are going multiple times a year, you're saying it's not tuned
For the
us.
people who are there every other year banking and borrowing, I think maybe.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. So Kevin, what's your thoughts on this? Are you going to recommend this to friends, family?
Well, I do not want to disagree with Mr. Scott, but as a non-local, I mean, the way I looked at it, as I passed people by with it, I mean, I guess I have drank the Kool-Aid.
Okay.
That, I mean, I think it's going to be necessary. Now, again, if I planned on only riding X amount of rides, then, whether you buy an individual lightning lane for $15, or if you're going to do 2 regular rides, that's still $7.50. I mean, I have not purchased it a couple days because we did DVC hopping on a couple days, not the full day. So, Magic Kingdom, in my opinion, is a must. But I did want to mention this. Scott mentioned about Mickey and Minnie's. So I was not, I'm a DVC member. I am not going to buy the individual ride. So the individual wait was like 55 minutes and the line was moving pretty good. But 70 minutes later, after I saw many people go through the lightning lane because they had purchased, I'm saying to myself, I mean, I have never waited in a line 70 minutes. I mainly did it because there was a 55-minute wait posted to see, what if other people walked up, they were rolled out the red carpet.
Oh, so like all of the lightning lane people just got like fast track. They didn't even have to wait, is what you're saying.
No, I did not see where the Minnie and Mickey's merged.
For the ill people. I love that term. So we're going to use that. Individual lightning lane, ill.
So,
right?
But yeah, I mean, I think, again, it gets back down to, if the question is, okay, well, if it was free, would you use it? I mean, just like fast passes, how many of us would say, I can't go do without fast passes and they were free. Well, unfortunately, now I'm looking in the mirror and say, if I come down, even as a DVC member, for a week here and a week there, if I'm going to the park and I do not want to stand in line, I either got one or two choices, either do a lot in a day or buy Genie Plus and do the most I've done so far is we've gotten 8 park hopping, 8 in a day. So,
well, that's a pretty good deal.
$2 a piece.
Yeah.
So your advice is suck it up, Buttercup, and pay the money and roll with it, right?
I will even go this far. I mean, a lot of folks are on budgets and, it's just me and my wife on this trip, but normally we have 7 with us. 7 times 15 times a week is real money. Some folks may have to say, what do I give up? Do I not eat here? Do I cut it back a day? And I would have to say, if you don't, you're going to be miserable.
Yeah.
That's $784. I just did the math really quick for 7 people, 7 days, $16 a day.
Especially for the folks that come once a year, once in a lifetime. I mean, it's no different than buying a ticket now.
Yeah, it just should be part of it. Okay. Yeah, that's a great perspective. Anna, what's your thoughts?
So I definitely think for Hollywood Studios, it's a must. that it was really, really helpful the days we had it there. For the once in a lifetime or every other year, I definitely think it's worth it, even if you don't buy it every day, but to buy it and use it strategically for your days. Because, again, we have the Epcot, we have the Magic Kingdom late night hours, but some rides aren't open, during the 2 hours. Like Splash Mountain isn't open. So that was really helpful. We got one for Splash Mountain right before the park closed so that we could ride Splash Mountain really quickly and then do the 2 hours after. So that was definitely very helpful to have it for that. It's good for park hopping, definitely.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know. I mean, we waited 30 minutes for Flight of Passage. I don't think you should use it there. We waited 10 and 12 minutes on Expedition Everest. Don't buy one of those either.
Yeah, it takes 20 minutes to just walk through the stupid queue line at Flight of Passage. So
yeah.
Chad, one other thing I was going to say, the same thing as you said, that the 2 hours at Magic Kingdom and Epcot on Mondays and Wednesdays is a must, underline must.
Yeah.
Especially at Magic Kingdom. I got tired of walking through Seven Dwarfs queue. I mean, it was the cars were there waiting on you. The only thing I would say is our friends at Disney, for some reason, is not keeping Remy's open at Epcot late night.
Oh, wow. Well, they got to make that cheese, right? I mean,
but Frozen,
individual lightning lane.
But Frozen is open.
Yeah. Okay.
So Remy's is not. Every other ride that, and then obviously Hollywood's not. But yeah, I found it interesting. Remy was not.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Jill, any final thoughts or recommendations here? Yes, no?
When it worked, it really worked. And every time I was successful with the lightning lane, it was pretty much a straight walk on into the pre-show room or onto a ride vehicle. I don't think I waited more than 7 minutes for any attraction where I was successful in getting the lightning lane. So if you're a person who doesn't like waiting in lines, I think that's worth it. Or if you're a person who is trying to cram it all in 2 days, like I was this particular trip,
nice,
that was worth it for me. But if you're here for multiple days and you can stretch it out, and maybe you're even taking a resort day, I think you can probably pace yourself and still do everything that you wanted to do before without adding on the extra cost. But there was nothing quite as sweet as getting on Seven Dwarfs Mine Train literally 5 minutes after I tapped in. And then I think the other thing that I want to add is on Peter Pan, I did see a really weird stack up of lightning lane people. Like all of a sudden there was a horde of lightning lane people that came all at once. And I was like, oh, this is not good. But then they let in the entire lightning lane queue all at once and held the standby line, which I felt really bad for the standby people, but I thought I was going to be waiting a half an hour for Peter Pan and I was still on the ride in 5 minutes.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a really, really, really short lightning lane line there at Peter Pan. I mean, it's probably one of the shortest that I've seen. And the merge point
and it looks really far because it stacks out into the park. There's no actual queue holding area.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So Chad, so you've heard some opinions that the ones have gone through it. Based on what you've heard tonight, what are your feelings?
I still mourn the loss of planning, and my family really, really, really enjoyed planning, going hey, we are X days out at 180 days. What's our dining going to be? Talking about that, looking forward to that 60-day window countdown. It just added more anticipation into the trip. Okay, going over our spreadsheet as a family. What are we going to plan? What are we going to try to do? Right. And I really did not mind getting up early on those mornings before my vacation so that I could sleep in on my vacation and get a great night's rest.
Could not agree more.
Now I'm going to have this FOMO because I've had it on the last few trips of 7 a.m. Am I going to get up and everybody's counting on me to get the Rise Pass because I'm the techie nerd of Disney nerds in our family?
The Wi-Fi didn't work. You couldn't get on the app. You couldn't this. And everybody's going to be looking at you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I literally do not sleep very well the night before a 7 a.m. time. So I'm not looking forward to this at all because they didn't engineer this in a way that fits my park style. And then as an annual pass holder that can't do here's $200, just opt me in every day for $200, like that should have happened. But then coming back in and saying you can't buy it till this time, take my money early, okay? It's non-refundable. Just take the money. I don't see that. I got a lot of issues with this, but at the same point in time, I'm one person and I don't think I'm going to be buying it until the whole family is there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I do have one thing that I think would be important for folks on that, which is when I was on my iPad app, you can buy it up until 11:59 p.m. for the same day you're already in. So if you log in at like 11:30 p.m. and you're like, I'm ready to buy it for tomorrow, it's going to default you to today. And so you really do need to wait till 12:01 in order to make sure you're buying it for the proper day, because that almost caught me too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but then again, okay, I have to get up at 6:30 in the morning to make sure I'm up and have coffee and my eyes are clear and I can see again. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to be up at 12:01 to click the buy button so that now I've got 6.5 hours. And I'm like, Disney, you're just not planning my time appropriately.
Scott, I saw a lot more blue umbrellas on this trip on the guest experience I've ever had before.
Kevin, that's one thing that we brought up on Saturday is they've taken the one away at Hollywood Studios. It's right in front of the bathrooms before you get to Galaxy's Edge. But they've put in one 100 yards behind it and 100 yards in front of it. So they actually did take out one and put in two right there.
Okay. Well, that's good to know.
Because they need it because the thing isn't working right.
And I did notice that obviously the first couple days the lines, I thought that was another ride at the Blue Umbrella because they had as many. I was looking for a lightning lane for that because they had many people in line and some of the rides did.
Oh,
I will say this, and we'll kind of wrap up the show from here. I also have a Premier Pass for Universal. And after 4 p.m., you get fast passes. So to me, I'm like, and I'm a night person, so where am I going to start going at night? To me, I'm just going to start heading over to Universal. Just because.
Chad, can I ask?
Yeah.
Is it after 4 p.m. again? Because it was 2.
Last I saw it was 4 p.m., but it could be 2.
Okay, I haven't been in a while. There was a lot of complaining, and they had lowered it down to 2, but they may have taken it back. So
I have nieces.
I think it's still 4.
That spend time at Universal. I believe it's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know I looked at it when I don't get off work till 4, and work will be probably 35, 40 minutes away. So I figured I could roll in and band in by 5 and go do whatever I want to do every day. So that's kind of my MO and what I'm looking forward to doing. But I'm going to keep this up more because we need competition between the parks to who can serve customers the best. And so that's kind of our job as consumers here is to talk about that. But anyways, thank you guys all so much for joining us tonight. And thank you, Sandy, for helping co-host and ask some questions. And Scott, Kevin, Anna, and Jill. We'll love to have you guys back onto the show as guests again as we discuss more topics. And next week, I think we're talking about resort-only stays, if you want to tune in for that. And because it sounds like Genie Plus could be sparking a lot of resort-only stays. Thought we had our fill during COVID of those, but maybe not. So anyways, thanks for tuning in.
From Old Key West and
What's
Saratoga again. The boats are back from Old Key West and Saratoga. So
yep.
There you go. There you go. And a shout out to Scott over at Mickey Files Podcast as well.
Thank you.
So be sure to, if you want to hear more from Scott, be sure to tune in over there at Mickey Files. It's like audiophile, but with a Mickey. So people who are high end and high distinguishing taste for Mickey, I guess. That would be a Mickey file. So, all right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. And we will talk with you guys next week. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
And